Hey everyone, welcome to the Sultans of Swap. And saying that so slow because I screwed it up the first time. I think I'm going to go with SOS. I'm Brian Johnson. I'm here with Edwin Anderson and John Anthony. And wanted to do a quick video up front just to kind of tell you what we're doing here and what the group is all about. You know, a little bit about ourselves. You may have dealt with this before, you may not. I'm sure we're going to be inviting a lot of our friends at first. So I'm going to give it over to Edwin here, do a little introduction, talk about his collection, what he likes, and what we're hoping to do here.
Hey everyone, Edwin Anderson, and I'm a Cal Ripken super collector. So I love the Cal Ripken Jr. Cards, memorabilia. I've been an Orioles fan since I was a kid, so I also collect the Orioles baseball cards, and I tend to focus on the PSA graded cards. I love building the sets and the set registry, card grading, all those types of items. And I think that most of my experience with baseball cards lately has been online stuff, Facebook groups, different websites and forums. I tend to admin a few groups, and I'm a set expert on a few websites, specifically with Cal Ripken Jr. stuff. But,
Yeah, man. So tell the folks out there where they can find us and what we're doing.
Sure. We're on Facebook. You can find us on the Sultans of Swap, Twitter, Google Plus, YouTube. You can find us just about anywhere online with social media.
That's cool, man. Edwin and I, we admin a few groups together. I'm really glad to have him. He also is going to do all our computer stuff. Because the gentleman I'm going to introduce here, John Anthony and I, we have no idea what we're doing. None whatsoever. But the reason I brought John in is because he has been in the business for a long time. I'll let him tell a little bit more about himself. So go ahead there, John.
Thanks, Brian. So I have been on the business side of things for about 8 years now, and I started out as a collector like almost everybody, had a deep love for the hobby and just decided that I wanted to get onto the sell side of it. And I met these guys on Facebook both almost a year ago now. It's crazy how fast time goes. I had no idea that people bought, sold, or traded cards on Facebook. So when I first started, I was just in some really random broad groups that have since become defunct, and then you meet some people here and there, and they introduce you to a new group, and then a new group, and then I've built a huge network of friends and some really cool people that I've gotten to meet, talk to about more than just cards. And now I have my own Facebook group where I sell breaks, baseball and football, multi-sport, all sorts of stuff. And it's just been a really cool experience, and we just wanted to bring it to people's attention and share it with people and tell them more about us and how we've become friends, and that's really about it.
So, John, where can they find you online?
You guys can find me on eBay and on Facebook. My Facebook group is called Sports Card Investors. If you just search that, you can find it. You can request to join, and me or Jessica will accept you into the group. If you don't have any friends in the group or you're just hearing it for the first time, send us a message just to let us know that you heard our podcast, so we know how you found us. And you can also find me on eBay. One of my eBay handles is sports_card_investors, and the other eBay handle is Hayward, like Jason Hayward, Braves, ROY, all one word, no spaces.
Man, that username you got on eBay is almost as difficult to say as Sultan of Swap, but not quite.
Sports Card Investors?
Yeah, man, all the underscores you got in there. I know you got to do it.
Yeah.
It's like Twitter. I couldn't get Brian Johnson as a Twitter name. That one was already taken up like 800 times. I was a little late to the party.
Yeah.
But talking about Sports Card Investor, man, I mean, John knows this. I'm not a huge buyer of breaks in general for a variety of reasons, but I love hanging out and watching the breaks, man. I think you guys who are in the breaks, we have a lot of fun in that group. It's a lot of good breaks. So, and I know John's been in the business for a long time, so it's a great add to our little team here. So I already said I'm Brian Johnson. You see all the stuff behind me. I'm a much more of a collector. When I was a kid, I was like everybody else. My dad would stop and buy me and my brother a pack of cards at the at the gas station if we didn't give them a headache. And when I was about 12, I belonged to a youth group, and one of the leaders of the youth group, her brother died. Obviously, tragic, but I ended up getting some awesome baseball cards from the 50s and 60s out of it. None of them were in great condition or anything like that, but it really got me into the hobby. And of course, like a lot of other little kids, I was born in '79. I had a Beckett, and I loved watching those arrows go up and down. So I was interested in the money side of things too. And I'm sure I'm like a lot of people, man. That's what got me into it, the back and forth. So for this Sultans of Swap, what we're really hoping to do here is really just talk about the hobby. I know Edwin, John, and we get questions throughout the week. What is this worth? Where do we go? If I was going to sell something, or what do I have here, pretty much. So decided to turn it in to a little bit of my air quote podcast. Not sure if it's a podcast yet. We're going to throw it up on YouTube and on our Twitter. But you guys that are listening out there are going to play a critical part. We are going to use the questions that we typically get through the week to kind of try and push the agenda of what we're going to talk about. But I just love talking to people, man. I've been up since about 8 a.m. and it's only almost noon. I've probably been talking about baseball cards for 3 hours. So you can find me on Facebook, anywhere that you want to go, and that is the brass tacks of what we're going to be doing here. So with that, I just wanted to kind of throw it back to John. What are you breaking this week? What's out there, man?
This week we have Valor Football. We've put a football mixer together. Topps Update Baseball is out, but I'm really excited for Immaculate Football next week. It's a higher end break. It's a pricier product, but man, there are some really awesome cards in there. And for anybody that collects football, it's probably going to be their best or second best card of the year. So it's definitely a product worth saving for, worth taking a look at. Tremendous value there, lots of upside, and it's going to be a great time. I'm really excited.
Now, we were talking to Edwin before we kind of got started here, and he mentioned to me that he was a Cowboys fan, which I don't talk to Edwin about football a lot, so I didn't know he was a Cowboys fan. But, man, do you collect any football cards?
No, I try not to spread myself too thin. When I do something, I like to do it big. So, I admire them. I love them. I love watching John break football. I got a lot of friends that do, but I don't want to bite off more than I can chew.
No, you know what, man? I hear you on that, because football is one of those sports that I absolutely love. I like any, red-blooded American. I've been watching football since I was a little kid, but football card collecting, I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering, like Roger Clemens, but I don't remember football cards being a huge thing in like the mid '80s. I know it got a lot more popular in like the late '80s, early '90s with like Score and Fleer and like all of those, but it just wasn't as big as baseball. And I find that like vintage football is super cheap. So John, you were talking about Immaculate and football. Like, what are the big? I mean, is it just like baseball? Is it like the same big hits? The Jersey Relics, the 101s, like all that type of stuff. And I don't even know, man. I would guess like Mariota and Jameis are the big hits in those.
Well, they're the big rookie hits, but they're not the big hit. And Todd Gurley's playing phenomenal since he's been back. So he that's some more added value to the product. But you have all the Hall of Famers, the legends, guys that don't have a lot of autographs throughout the year will have autographs in this product. The patches are they're so much nicer than just your traditional, basic brand Panini, one color. These are multicolor patches, logos, one-of-ones, NFL shields, all sorts of really unique stuff that you just don't see in every product throughout the year. And I want to touch real quick on your point about saying football cards weren't that big growing up. So I have a really cool story to tell. I remember the first card show I ever set up at, and it was with a friend named Jonathan who I grew up with. We lived on the same street together, and we used to rake leaves and shovel snow to get money to buy cards. And that's how we built our little card business when we were 10 and 11 years old. So we set up at a one-day show at a hotel near Sesame Place in Philadelphia.
I know where that is, man. I've slucked my way around Sesame Place with a 4-year-old, so go ahead.
And I'll never forget, now they have the big glass cases. Well, we had this little wooden case that me and my grandpa built with this red velvet like sheet in there, like just to make the cards look nicer on. And the big card during that show was the Mark Brunell SP rookie because he had
Oh
just
my
taken
God.
over as the quarterback for the Packers. So I thought it was funny when you said football cards weren't that big back in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I
I
don't know.
remember,
That was my memory of it, John. I honestly, I know Bo Jackson was huge from Tecmo Bowl. But aside from that, I don't know. I just kind of missed the whole football card collecting phase. I actually went back and looked. When I say went back and looked, my eBay research on what's out there. And what I found is football cards are way more affordable than baseball cards. Because in baseball you got Mickey Mantle and I mean you name it. A Clemente rookie is like $7,000-8,000 now for a PSA 7, and you could actually get like Bart Starr, which is the Holy Grail, for not like a quarter of that price. I mean, I know I'm talking some crazy prices. I'm just talking about the Holy Grails of cards, but there is suspect out there that football is kind of overtaking baseball a little bit. I don't buy it personally, obviously, with what's behind me, especially for the vintage. But I mean, I know football is super popular now.
I'm anxious to see over the next 10 or 15 years as our generation evolves and the older generation where baseball was life kind of starts passing on. I'm anxious to see with football and how it's the most watched sport in the United States. I'm wondering if that's going to have an impact on future football card values and how it impacts people like us. Are we going to look at the Aaron Rodgers and say, wow, I really want to have that card, the same way older people now who are in their prime earning stage say, I really want that Roberto Clemente or that Mickey Mantle because he was my hero as a kid.
Right. Right. Yet,
Sure.
it's not what I would call like the greatest segue ever into. I was thinking this whole time when you were talking about like football cards and what's popular and what's not. It's the World Series right now. The World Series is coming up. I mean, I got football on. I'm going to be doing football all day today on Sunday. But in my head, because I am such a baseball nerd, I have the World Series in my head. I'm pretty excited for the Mets fans, man. Did Kansas City, the last World Series for Kansas City was 1985, right?
They won the World Series last year, Brian.
Wait a minute. Kansas City won the World Series last year. What was I thinking of? You know what? That's so funny. I had it in my head that Kansas City lost and they were coming back. So that's
they won last year. And
all right, Kansas City. Wow. I just totally missed the whole thing on that one. So cool for Mets fans because Mets fans were 1986. Kansas City's back. I think it's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mets.
I saw a stat on ESPN that for the second year in a row, the team whose pitching staff had where the average velocity was the fastest in baseball is back in the World Series. So that's 2 years in a row. So you're seeing a major shift from back in the 90s when the Braves dominated with basically movement and off-speed pitches to now we're seeing every single guy in the Mets rotations throwing 96, 97. You're seeing Herrera for the Royals come in, and his fastball's at 100 every time, and then he throws a breaking ball. It looks like it's a wiffle ball coming in. It's like it's just unbelievable, and it is really exciting. And one thing I had kind of wished the card companies would do, I thought a really great idea for a product would be a World Series-centric product. So all the base cards would be guys that had participated in World Series. The autographs and relics would be from like a World Series jersey that someone wore instead of just a regular game-worn jersey.
Right.
The bats and stuff like that. I think that would be a really neat product and would get baseball collectors even more invigorated right now.
Isn't there a playoff there's a subset of something? I know Topps puts it out, and I know it's part of just like a regular base Topps, but it's like playoff centric. Because I had a buddy of mine who was trying to put them all together. It's not exactly what you said. It's very similar to that. Because it had like Puig in it from the Dodgers and like this and that, like autographs or whatever. But that's not the worst idea. Edwin, my face is probably really red. I don't know how much you can see it with the Kansas City World Series. But that being said, my friend, who do you like in the World Series this year?
I always like pulling for the underdogs, or at least folks that everybody else is not pulling for. And it seems right now, I was looking earlier today on the betting line, to see what people were actually putting their money down on. And what is it? 56% is on Kansas City,
Yeah. Wow.
44% on the Mets. So, I would say the Mets. I'd like to see it changed up a little bit.
Well, I guess as the defending champions, as I had not called them, that might be where I would think the money would go. I think when I really think about it, I like Kansas City to win the series. I think it'll be a lengthy series.
Mhm.
I think the Mets pitching will keep them in there, but with Kansas City, man, they seem like a team of destiny. I did you guys stay up late and watch that game the other day against Toronto?
I watched most of it. It was a good game. I mean, it's I mean,
I just wanted to see another Bautista bat flip. That's all I really wanted to see was Bautista flip his bat again, man. Now, you want to talk about a point of contention on the Facebook pages, man. That Bautista bat flip, I think that was split about 50-50 down the middle, and it was pretty generational.
that lit social media up for sure.
Oh, yeah, man. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed watching that. So, John, who do you like in the series?
I don't know. I think both teams are really evenly matched. Kansas City has hit 295 against fastballs of 96 or higher this season, which is amazing when you think about that. I mean, they're just crushing. The harder it comes in, the harder it's going out for the Royals. And the thing about the Royals that I think gives them a slight edge is that if they're up a run, down a run, or tied from the fifth inning on, I think they have the best bullpen of my generation for sure, no question about it. They've had a lot of late inning rallies in these playoffs against Toronto and in the previous series, and I just think their bullpen is too tough. While the Mets starting pitching is terrific, the Royals have guys like Edison Volquez stepping up and shutting Toronto down completely. So I mean, you have to think he's going to perform just as well against the Mets, and I don't believe Daniel Murphy can continue on this pace.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was thinking about it while you were talking there about the bullpens, and I have to agree with you. I don't know that I could actually I could name some closers I think were better. The Riveras and the Eckersleys and like those type of guys that just you knew the ninth inning was a goner. But as a complete bullpen, I don't know, man. They are throwing just cheese when they come out of there.
Yeah, I mean, what's unbelievable is that you go from Herrera, who's throwing 100, to Wade Davis, who's only throwing 95. But, I mean, he really knows how to pitch between hitting his spots, mixing in his off-speed pitches. He doesn't really get rattled when there are guys on base. And he had a .9 ERA for this season.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of success, getting any hit off those two guys. But the one area where I question the Royals a little bit is in that last game. I don't know why Ned Yost brought Ryan Madson in. Sometimes managers today are so regimented to this guy can't pitch more than one inning. He can't throw more than this amount of pitches. At that point, with a chance to go to the World Series, I think you're telling Wade Davis, swing the arm around, loosen her up. You're coming in and we need 6 outs. We're going to the World Series, buddy. And Madson comes in and it's like single, boom, gone. It's like, So I think the Mets have an edge in the coaching department for sure.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Collins just seems so happy to be there, man. Like, how many games did he manage? It was like 1,800 games or something before even making a playoff appearance. I think I saw that stat. It was like 1,800 and something before he even made a playoff appearance. And his interview was great. He was very, I don't even know. You could just tell. He obviously emotional about it, but just thrilled for that team. I'll tell you what, man, if you told me the Mets were going to be in the World Series in May, I would have been like, you're on crack. I mean, I know they were playing all right, but I would have never saw the Mets coming.
It's funny. I think the Mets and the Astros were picked to be two of the worst teams in baseball this year. And it just shows how much the game has evolved toward young players that are hungry, and live young arms, both on the Mets and on Houston, between Keuchel and that stable of just flamethrowers that the Mets have. That's where baseball is going. And I actually got kind of excited. I was thinking to myself last night, I was wondering, I want to start looking at rosters and figuring out who is the next young team or team that has a lot of guys coming up through the minors that you're going to see on the field, and I'll tell you who it is. I think the Pirates have I know they're already a pretty good team, but they've got a lot of really young guys in their system that I think can come up and have an impact over the next year or two.
I tend to agree with you there with guys like Glasnow and Meadows and Josh Bell. They're going to be set for a while. I mean, kind of bringing this back to card values, I see if you go on any Raz page or on eBay or anywhere right now, you're seeing a lot of Syndergaard, a lot of DeGrom. The Royals, not as much because guys like Moustakas really peaked like last year. And there's such a small market with like Gordon and Hosmer. But the Mets right now, man, Daniel Murphy. Daniel Murphy is the big one. Daniel Murphy stuff is like quintupled.
I'm going to be searching through monster boxes today looking for Daniel Murphy chromes, praying that I have some laying in a box downstairs.
Yeah, if you have any Daniel Murphys. And Jake Arrieta is the other one. I know Jake Arrieta was good all year, and I know the Cubs are done. But Arrieta is another one. If you go through and you search through your boxes of prospects or cards that you had kind of shoved away, Jake Arrieta is a big one. And for this year, it's all the Syndergaards and DeGroms and even Matt Harvey. He's kind of leveled off a little bit. I don't see his stuff going this high, but Syndergaard is probably the big one.
Yeah, I would agree, and he's in a very affordable product too. He's in 2010 Bowman Draft, I believe it is his first autograph, and it's very affordable. I'm actually putting together a baseball prospect mixer from like 2011, 2012, 2010, 2014 stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah, which is cool because it gives you the reason I like mixers is when you spread it out over a couple of different years, it gives you just a big group of prospects to pull from, so that it's not just the same teams that are the best. Like this year, the Cubs are the best, but if you look back at 2010, the Mets are really good. Depending on the product, the White Sox could be good. The same with 2011. You know, most people don't really care for Marlins stuff this year, but if you go back to Fernandez's year, you know, the product is through the roof. So a mixer gives you a nice opportunity so that any team that you end up with, whether you're buying a team or it's a random team, you have a chance to get something really good.
I actually do like the baseball mixers and breaks. I tend to like them more on the mid-range products because you almost guarantee you're going to get something. Like you're at least going to get something in the mail. Like even if you miss out on like that huge hit, like, you know, we all want the Bryants or the Trouts or whatever, we're at least going to get – I'm going to get a few cards. So I'm still getting skunked, but I'm not getting skunked as bad because at least I'm getting some cards in the mail. Edwin, I don't know where we're at on time, man. I know when we talked about this, we said we were going to do 10 minutes. If you can't tell, everyone in this group is pretty passionate about the hobby. Some of us don't remember who won the World Series last year, but aside from that, I think we got a pretty good dynamic. So one more time, Edwin, can you tell people where to find us on Facebook and everywhere else?
Yeah, just Sultans of Swap, you know, on Facebook and Twitter. We're looking forward to this and looking forward to your questions and coming up with the answers that you're looking for. You know, just hit us up on Facebook. Almost everybody has it. You know, if you submit a question to us through there, we'll get it into one of our next episodes.
Very cool, man. And John, I know they can find you at the Sports Card Investor on Facebook and everywhere else. I'm looking forward to trolling your chat this week.
From the hot tub.
From the hot tub. I will be doing that. Actually, my son was asking me about the hot tub this morning, so I think I'm going to have to do that at some point today. And, you know, thank you guys for checking out the page. I think I might have to roll with just SOS, Sultans of Swap, with my accent. Might not be the easiest thing to get across. But if you are checking us out on YouTube or wherever you find us, I really appreciate it. And thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Nice talking to you guys, man.